Welcome to Wednesday prayer. This week our theme is making room. The whole birth story of Jesus is about God making room for joy to enter into people, making room for welcome, making room for those who have been left out or left behind, the poor, to be welcomed, the stranger to be invited in, to make room where there is no room. As I was thinking about this, one of my fondest memories is of a friend, a fellow minister, who would make room at her table. And she was always willing to invite me and my son, the single mom, to come over for dinner, which would usually just be soup and bread. But at that table, when you arrived, you never know who you would meet. Whether it was the weatherman from the local station who had just been fired, the man they had given a place to live while they figured out who he was and what he wanted to do, the single mom and her child, the gay couple. She always made room. There was always room for more and food enough for everyone. And there was always laughter and joy. What is your fondest story of making room? I invite you to think about that, and if you're still in touch with that person, say thank you to them. Share with them how much that story of them making room meant to you. And so while we think about what it means to make room, I invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath and let those words just sit with you. Say, God, help us to make room. God, help us to make room. God, help us to make room. Help us to make room for joy. Help us to be like those shepherds who see the unexpected in the night sky, who hear music in the stars, who experience awe and wonder. God, help us to make room. Help us to make room like the last place that finally said, yes, Mary, here. Here you can have space. It's not much, it's dirty, it's full of animals, but it's all we have, and you're welcome. Help us to make room, God. God, help us to make room for the tired, the weary, and the worn, the lost, and the lonely. God, help us to make room that we can hear the pain, the sorrow, and the grief the world is experiencing, and have our hearts open up instead of shut down. God, help us to make room. Help us to make room for one another. God, help us to make room for you. God, help us to make room in our hearts so that we can love as you have loved. God, help us to make room. Amen.